Hey guys, how's it going? What's the crack? Hope you're all keeping well. Welcome back to my channel. So, we have got WWE Summerslam this weekend, 2 night extravaganza. So, as usual, I want to put in my preview for the event and some match predictions. So, it's very warm today as usual. So, I'm going to get stuck into these matches and see what we have. So, I'm going to start off with. I'm just going to go down the list of night one, then night two. So I'm starting off here with Liv Morgan versus Io Sky. I mean, honestly, we've seen this match at Night of Champions, and at this point, I don't know, I'm just not even looking forward to, the women's title on Raw because the booking has just been horrible for Liv. I remember, as I said before, with her match at WrestleMania against Stephanie. I mean, they got a few minutes on the card. Liv won, and then they've done nothing with her since then. Stephanie obviously got injured and obviously needed to take some time off to heal up and get rested. But you know, in the meantime, they've done nothing with Liv Morgan. Like all those months, what have we had? We've had since WrestleMania, we've had Backlash, we've had several Saturday night main events, we've had Clash in Italy, and they did nothing. With all the women on the roster that they could have booked Liv in a story with, even just a short feud, you know, Natalia, Becky Lynch, Lyra Valkyria, Bailey, which they've again another wrestler that they've completely wasted in the past few years. Dimension Natalia, even Candice LeRae on SmackDown, who has spent the last few months standing backstage with Johnny Gargano planking on a damn crate. You could have had a match with Liv and Candice LeRae, even a short match. Just something, a short feud that actually gets Candice in the ring because she can fucking wrestle and she deserves to be wrestling, and it gives Liv an opportunity to defend her title instead of just all she's been doing really lately is either standing backstage or standing ringside watching others compete. They threw her into the Queen of the Ring tournament just to give her a match to compete in. And then basically all we're doing now is we're doing the same thing at SummerSlam with Io versus Liv. As much as I like Liv, I would put the title on Io because at the moment there's just not much for Liv to do as champion. And at least if Io's the champion, she can defend it against likes of Roxanne or Lyra or Natalia or something. Liv is at the moment she's more focused with the Judgment Day and Dom, and even at the moment with Danhausen. So I don't know. I would just put the title on Io, and then we'll go from there. But honestly, the booking for Liv has just been terrible. Like I think she's just reached as was 100 days or so as champion and zero title defenses. I mean that's just bullshit. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Io in this match. Moving on, we have got LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, Royce Keys versus the Bloodline, which is Jacob, Jay, and Jimmy. I would like, obviously, because it's going to be Royce Keys first PLE or pay per view, whatever you want to call it, since his debut at the Royal Rumble. Uh, I would like to see him on LA Knight and even Solo, because I think Solo, now that he's out on his own, they've disbanded the MFTs. Solo's starting to sort of come into his own character now. And he's starting to have a bit of fun. You can see that in the previous shows. He's a lot less, serious, and he's having a bit more fun on the microphone. So I would like to see them, but I don't know. I'd be surprised if they have the Bloodline lose at SummerSlam. Especially when you got the Usos and you got Jacob as well. So unless there's a scenario where, because they've been doing this back and forth where Jacob only listens to Roman, he won't listen to Jay or Jimmy. So it could be a scenario where Jay is demanding that Jacob do something in the match, and Jacob gets fed up and walks off and leaves the ring, and then that leaves them at a 3-on-2 disadvantage and they pick up the win. But I'm gonna go with the Bloodline to win this match, because as I said, I'd be surprised if they lost on the pay-per-view. So next up, we've got another 6-person tag match. This one is the Bella Twins and Paige versus Fatal Influence, Jessie Jane, Laney Reid, and Fallon Henley. So far, Fatal Influence debut on the main roster has been a bit mixed. Obviously, they've just won the women's tag titles. Another, thing that's being wasted in WWE. I mean, at the moment, there is no women's tag teams. We've got the Bella Twins, and that's it. Lacey and Fallon are, part of a group. They've just come up, so it's good to have them. But at the moment, there is no actual need for women's tag teams, because all we're doing is taking 2 singles wrestlers and putting them together. And it's a bit the same with the men's tag team titles. You've got R-Truth and Damian Priest, who are not a tag team. They've been thrown together. They've released several tag teams, and now all you've got is R-Truth and Damian Priest walking around backstage every week. You've got on Raw, you've got Braun Breaker being wasted in a tag team with Austin Theory because Logan Paul's injured, and there's no real tag teams on Raw other than the Street Profits. And they were trying to do something with Otis and Tozawa. Now they've taken Otis out and written him off TV. So I don't know. I would definitely say for the tag titles, there is no reason to have 2 sets of men's tag titles when there's so few teams. At least if they're going to do it like the women's, and just have 1 set of titles. But I'm hoping, as much as I like the Paige and the Bellas, I'm hoping that Fatal Influence gets their victory on the PLE, whether there's some shenanigans and either the Bellas turn on Paige or Paige possibly turns on the Bellas. I'm hoping that Fatal Influence will get the win at SummerSlam. So next up, we have got Gunther versus Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis hanging up his general manager duties to come out of retirement and wrestle, which is good to see. I mean, obviously, whenever Nick Aldis signed with WWE, I think a lot of people hoped that he'd be stepping into the ring, but they put him in a management role. So glad to see he's finally getting the match, and we'll see what he can do against Gunther. I'm going to go with Gunther to win this match because, again, I'd be surprised if, Gunther's coming off this run of, retiring, legends, John Cena, Goldberg, AJ Styles. They moved him to SmackDown and he's been on a somewhat losing streak against Cody and then against Cody and Sammy. And then he's lost the tag match at Saturday night's main event thanks to Nick Aldis. So I would hope that he gets the win here at SummerSlam against Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis gets his match in a WWE ring at SummerSlam, whether it's a one-off or whether it's the start of a new career as an in-ring competitor. But I would hope for Gunther to get the win, and then that hopefully ends that feud, and Gunther can move on to hopefully new feuds, whether it's against Punk or it's against somebody else on the roster. I don't know where the likes of Randy Orton and Damian Priest. He's not Damian Priest. Sorry, Drew McIntyre. He's been filming movies, so he'll be due back at some point. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Gunther for this one. Next up, we have got what should be the co-main event of the night. We've got Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar in the Hell in a Cell. I'm curious if this is going to actually be kicking off the show, because I know it won't be closing the match because they'll have the WWE title match as the main event night one. But so far this has been a good back and forth feud. Obviously, we started off with Brock issuing an open challenge for WrestleMania, which was immediately answered by Oba. Oba beat Lesnar at Mania. We then thought that Lesnar had retired. He left his boots and gloves in the ring. He was emotional. He hugged Paul Heyman. He waved goodbye to the fans and walked off. Then we had a scenario of Oba doing his own version of open challenge, which was just a waste of his, character. Brock Lesnar returned, attacked him. We then moved on to a rematch at Clash in Italy, which Brock won after just basically spamming finishers. Now we got the rubber match where they basically wasted the King of the Ring with Oba giving up his title shot to face Brock Lesnar in the Hell in a Cell. I'm hoping this is going to be brutal. I'm hoping it's going to be bloody, because I do not want a scenario where it's just going to be a 10-minute match of just hitting finisher after finisher, several F5s, and then one mistake and it's over. I'm hoping that we're going to see possibly, the cage door or one of the cage walls busted open. I want to see them, fighting around, ringside. I want to see them fighting. I would say I want to see them fight on top of the cage. I don't know if that would happen, but, we'll see. This match has to go, I would say, at least... It's a Hell in a Cell. I don't know. I have to go at least 15 minutes at least. Like, I don't want to see just a quick... Like, the last ones have been what? Was WrestleMania match, was it 7 minutes? And then Clash in Italy was 12 minutes. So this is Hell in a Cell. The last one was Drew McIntyre versus Punk, and that was brutal. So if this is going to be like the co-main event of night one, and it's going to be ending the feud of Oba and Lesnar. It needs to go at least 15-20 minutes. And I don't know if we're going to see blood. You would feel if anyone's going to bleed, it'll be Lesnar. Uh, and as far as a winner, I would hope it's going to be Oba. You know, I don't know what way booking or and Brock have it going. I would assume Brock would want it for Oba to win, and that ends the feud. So he's won it 2-1. But it is in Minnesota, so I mean, obviously near Brock's home. So Brock's family and everything are going to be ringside, I think. I don't know. I could see a scenario because they kept plugging, that Brock's never been beaten inside Hell in a Cell. He's only had two of them, but they were against the Undertaker. But I could see a scenario where Brock gets the win and then he retires, or then he takes a break before competing at WrestleMania in Saudi, because as I said, I'd still be very surprised if they're not trying to get him on that card. But I would hope that Oba wins this match. He should be winning this match and ending the feud, before moving on to his next challenge. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Oba for this match, and that leaves us with the main event of night one, which is Punk and Cody. A match we were gonna have at last year's WrestleMania. Well, last year, sorry, WrestleMania past there, before all the injuries happened, and we end up with Roman versus Punk and Cody versus Orton with a unwanted addition of Pat McAfee. This has been a slow build. Obviously, Punk won the title from Sami Zayn, who was meant to defend it against Cody. Punk moves to SmackDown. Cody immediately comes out and challenges him for a match at SummerSlam. And it's a sort of a match built on, respect. But the last 2 weeks we've sort of gotten a little bit of frustration about round two. Cody feels that Punk inadvertently hit him with the title belt when he was putting over his shoulder. And then, they're at the fan show, or the kickoff show, whatever it is. Punk pushed him in the face. They had their face off last week, where Cody says that he likes Punk, but he doesn't like him, and he needs to beat him. Punk called him Dusty's boy. So depending on what we get on the final SmackDown before SummerSlam, I don't know. I feel like there needs to be some type of a lit fuse somewhere where there's like a brawl or something. Just something that pushes it over the line to where there is going to be animosity going into this match. Whether this is the point where Cody turns heel, because his character definitely needs to turn heel. It's at the moment he's just too bland. He's came back. He's finished the story, but ever since it's just been more and more. It's just gotten boring, and he needs a change. He needs a change of character, and I think it'd be better if Cody was the one to turn on Punk, turn heel. I'm not expecting Cody to win the title. At the moment, I would keep Cody away from the title. As I said, I think Cody is better when he is chasing the champion and not being the champion defending. So I would have Punk win this match, and maybe that is what sets Cody off now, is, because of the fact that he said to Punk on SmackDown that I need to beat you. So Punk beats him at SummerSlam, and that's the moment where he snaps and he turns heel. And I don't know if we'll go the full way of dyeing the hair back to black, and we get the dark suits and everything. And we get the full heel Cody experience. Maybe he doesn't have to dye his hair black. He could adopt into that the golden boy that everyone keeps referring to him. He's WWE's golden boy. He could lean into that, and say that, yes, I'm Cody Rhodes, the son of the American dream, and I deserve this and everything, and you've disrespected me for the last time and all this. But he definitely needs to turn heel. I wouldn't have, if anyone's going to turn heel, I would not have Punk turn heel. Even though Punk is great as a heel, obviously his run all those years ago with the WWE title as a heel, he fucking nailed it. Whether he was, in his feud with The Undertaker and pouring the ashes over The Undertaker and everything, or he was in a feud with Cena, or he was interrupting people's entrance. He was the leader of the Nexus. He was the leader of the Straight Edge Society. Punk is great as a heel, but at this moment in time, the fans are more over with Punk than Cody. Cody, more times than not, gets a mixed reaction. And even before the whole Orton Pat McAfee situation, he was getting booed. So I think this would be the point to turn Cody heel. So hopefully that is what we're going to do. As I said, I'm going to go with Punk to retain the title. We do not need Cody to win back the title at SummerSlam, because as much as I like Cody, he's a boring champion. He is. He needs to be away from the title, and he needs to turn heel. So that's my predictions for night one. So just going down again. Io Sky to beat Liv Morgan. The Bloodline to beat LA Knight, Solo, and Royce Keys. Fatal Influence to beat the Bellas and Paige. Whether the Bellas turn heel or Paige turns heel. If anything, I would like to see Paige turn heel, because similar to, let's say, Punk, Paige is very good as a heel. I'm going with Gunther to beat Nick Aldis. I'm going with Oba to beat Brock, and I'm going with Punk to beat Cody Rhodes. So that's night one. Night two is a little less stacked than night one, but there are some interesting matches on this one. Let me just take a little drink here. So let me just start off. So first off, we've got a freaking match that would make you think that We're back in the days of Vince McMahon or Vince Russo. We've got Danhausen versus Dominic Mysterio for a human monies on a pool match. Dear God. Look, obviously, whenever Danhausen debuted, he didn't get a very good reception. I think it was Elimination Chamber. He made his debut. Obviously, there was a lot of hype over who was going to be revealed. As I always said at the time, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time for that reveal because he got booed out of the building. Over the months, the fans have taken more positively to his character as he's done either segments during the ad breaks where he's, firing tissues in the crowd and, telling jokes. And whenever he's doing his backstage segments, they're entertaining. But now they're pushing him into the ring to do matches, and this is not best for his character, because realistically a character like Danhausen is not one you want to see competing in matches. It's somebody who you use for backstage segments for a comedy pop, or something that's like he does with his curses, something that affects other people who then cost them their matches or cost them something when they're competing. They've had him competing against the Judgment Day. Now he competed against JD at Saturday Night's Main Event. This feud has been all surrounded around the New York Knicks and their NBA win. It was a great achievement for the Knicks to win the NBA finals after all those years, but holy Jesus, have WWE milked this into the ground. I mean, they have celebrated this and milked this more than the fucking New York Knicks. Now we have Danhausen versus Dominic at SummerSlam. Not even a normal match. It's, monies on a pole, which, Jesus, that has taken us back to freaking the days where you had paddles on a pole match and flags on a pole match and God knows whatever. So honestly, this match did not need to happen at SummerSlam, especially when you think of the people who are missing out on SummerSlam. People like Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, Ilya Dragunov, Bailey, Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano, as I've said before. We're not even having a tag team title match at SummerSlam. SummerSlam that made tag titles famous with the TLC match. But I don't know. I would say Dominic Mysterio has to win this match. He's the AAA champion, and he's being booked in a feud with El Grande Americano and AAA. And Jesus, if he loses the SummerSlam to Danhausen, whatever way it happens, how is that going to build him up as the champion of AAA, going into a feud with the challenger El Grande Americano after he just come off a hell of a feud with Chad Gable in their mask versus mask match. So it has to be Dominic Mysterio win this match. And then just from now on, just keep Danhausen out of the ring and just keep him to the backstage segments, because the segment we got in Raw with him and Hendry, I'm acting like Michael Cole now. I call him Henry. Joe Hendry, he's being wasted. And, you know, that segment on Raw with the freaking concert and the dancer and everything, that was terrible. Absolutely freaking terrible. And obviously it was a spot to introduce who was somebody, Garcia or somebody, a Sufa boxer, another damn sport that WWE or TKO is connected to, that they have to push on WWE programs. Next up, we've got Trick Williams versus Baron Corbin. I'm happy to see Baron back. This is a match, again, that has had no build. Obviously, Corbin returned a few weeks ago, attacked Carmelo Hayes, attacked Trick Williams. He then, was it last week, attacked Trick Williams after SmackDown went off the air, and a match for SummerSlam was booked. You know, it didn't happen on TV. It happened off screen, and then the match was booked, you know, on social media or on thing. You know, this has had no feud. I said, I'm happy that Baron Corbin's back, and I think it'll be a good match between him and Trick Williams. The only thing I'm disappointed in is that it means Carmelo Hayes is missing SummerSlam, and he's already missed WrestleMania. So I don't know what they're doing with him, and again, I don't know what has happened to Ilya Dragunov when he's coming back, but it's a tough match to call. I'm going to go with Trick Williams to win this match. As much as I like Baron Corbin, I'm not expecting him to come back and immediately win the US title in his first match back. At least I think he hasn't wrestled, unless he wrestles on SmackDown or anything. His first PLE match back. So I'm going to go with Trick Williams to win this match. Next up, we have got a ladder match for the women's interim title. Obviously, Rhea Ripley is injured with a slight tear. Is it her ACL or something? They didn't want to vacate the title or take the title off her, so whatever reason they've decided to create an interim title and book these qualifier matches for a ladder match at SummerSlam. I am glad they're having a ladder match at SummerSlam. I would have had it for the tag titles, because obviously, as I said, tag titles in SummerSlam, you know, made famous with, you know, the ladder and TLC matches. So, but we got Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton's the women's US champion, and she's not defending her title at SummerSlam, and she is competing for another title. I don't know why she needed to be in this match when she could have been in a separate match defending her title. She beat Jacy Jane. Jacy Jane, this would have been a great match for her to qualify and compete in. She's facing Jade Cargill. Chelsea Green. I'm happy to see Chelsea Green in this match now. I do think Chelsea Green is a workhorse, and I would not be upset to see Chelsea win this match. I don't think she will win this match. But I think she's great in the ring, and she's great for these type of matches. So, as I said, I would not be upset if she won this. So, Chelsea Green, Charlotte Flair's in the match. Honestly, I thought they were going to go with Jade Cargill versus Charlotte Flair as a singles match because they've been building up to it, but obviously because of the injury to Rhea Ripley, they've put them in this ladder match to build the star power and, have them compete for the interim title. And then we've got one more qualifier match between Julia and Lash Legend. I mean, I don't know who's going to qualify. I would prefer Julia to qualify. Honestly, I mean, these are not the people I would have had in the match. Like, I would have had JC Jane. I would have had Jesse Jane. I would have had Julia, Lash Legend, Chelsea Green, and Kiana James. That would have been the women I had in this match. But obviously, they're going for star power. So we got Tiffany versus Jade versus Chelsea versus Charlotte versus either Julia or Lash Legend, who will be determined on this week's SmackDown before the show. I feel stupid that it's for the interim title. A match like this, I don't know why they couldn't have just vacated the title. It's a shit situation, but Rhea's injured, so just take the title off her and put it on the line in this match. I'm gonna go with Charlotte to win this match. I think she mostly is the best option, and then obviously whenever Rhea returns, we get Charlotte versus Rhea for the undisputed women's championship. As I said, I would not be upset that Chelsea wins this. I think it'd be a great moment for her. It'd be a big pop at SummerSlam, but I'm going to go with Charlotte. Next up, we've got Sami Zayn versus Finn Balor in a number one contenders match for the WWE title. I'm glad to say that both Sami Zayn and Finn have got a match on SummerSlam. Obviously, Sami finally achieved his dream and won the WWE title in Saudi, and he lasted 9 days. And then they took it off him. If I'm being honest, I don't think they needed to take the title off Sami. I think you could have done Punk versus Cody at SummerSlam without a title on the line. You could have had Sami Zayn as the WWE champion going into SummerSlam. Against Finn Balor, and that would have been a hell of a match. Finn Balor wins the qualifying match for a shot at the title of SummerSlam. Sami Zayn versus Finn Balor. And, if you're going to take the title off Sami, a great moment for Finn Balor to win a SummerSlam. I think it's around the anniversary where he won the Universal title before he had to immediately vacate it due to injury. And then you could have had Punk versus Cody, a blockbuster match for SummerSlam main event, with no title on the line. Their build-up so far hasn't even really been about the WWE title. Their build-up has been about, Cody saying that, I respect you and I love you, but I don't like you. The fans sing your song and everything. And, for my career, for my thing, I need to beat you. There was no need for the WWE title to be on the line this match. They could have kept it on Sami. obviously then what do you do with Cody, because he had a challenge for the WWE title before Gunther took him out. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna go. This is a hard match to go. I feel like they're gonna go with Sammy to win to set up another shot at the title, but I would love for Finn Balor to win this match. Gotta go with the Irish lad, but they've moved Finn over to SmackDown now, and at this point, I would really like to see him get a push. You know, he had several challenges against Punk for the title. Um, and it'd be great to see him get an Orshad title and even win the title. You know, doesn't have to be a long term thing, but just, maybe a few months with Finn Balor carrying the title before, he loses it at, I don't know, Survivor Series, or what do they usually have before Royal Rumble? Something, or WrestlePalooza, or wherever the hell they have that thing. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Finn Balor to win this match, but I feel like Sammy will win it. God help all the water bottles if he doesn't win it. Next up, we have Panther versus Chad Gable. This is a match I'm looking forward to, because this is probably one of the best build-up stories of SummerSlam, because obviously it goes all the way back to Penta's debut on Raw. Obviously, Penta was the reason why Chad Gable ended up adopting this character of El Grande Americano, because he wanted to disrespect Lucha Libre. And then obviously, whenever he got injured, Kaiser took on the role, and he has absolutely killed it in the role. But also now that Chad has returned, he's, done away with his El Grande gimmick, and he's back to being Chad Gable. Chad Gable. Oh God, I don't know how I feel about that song. I get it feels like they don't pick music anymore that sort of fits for a wrestler. They pick music that they hope like the fans are going to get into. They'll to get the camera spots of Can's thing. Oba's got the strut for fans to dance to. Gable's got this clap. But I don't know what was wrong with Gable's original music that they had from the. I think when he first returned, they had him with his original NXT music, so I don't know why this didn't keep him with that. But yeah, this story has obviously built up from then, and now it's come full circle to the fact where he has come back. He has a new love and respect for Lucha Libre. He's sort of rebuilt bridges with the people who he hurt and disrespected, and now he is trying to achieve what he's always missed out on, is his first singles title, and he's doing it against Penta, the guy who started him on the downward spiral. So I think it has to be Chad Gable winning this match and finally winning the Intercontinental title. Like, I like Penta, but damn, is going to be a gut punch if he wins this match and Chad Gable is left again missing out, you know. So, and honestly, for the tag team division as well, it would work out for Penta to drop the title and then reunite with Rey Fenix, because I think not only does the tag division need them in it, I think Rey Fenix needs it in it, because other than his open challenges with the AAA Cruiserweight title, Rey Fenix can't get on the fucking show. So I would have Penta drop the Intercontinental title to Chad Gable. Chad Gable gets the moment, and then you finally get Penta and Rey Fenix reunited as a tag team, whether that's on Raw or SmackDown. Again, I would do away with one set of tag titles and just have one tag title between Raw and SmackDown. But I don't know. So I'm hoping Chad Gable's going to win this. Yeah. Let the fans do their claps. So that leaves us, if I missed any other out, no. So that leaves us with the main event of night 2, which is Roman versus Seth. And this has been a very well built up feud. Not that it needs it because of all their history. We've seen all the videos, you know, of their history from the Shield to the Shield's breakup to the WrestleMania cash-in to the battles with the Bloodline and Seth helping Cody finish his story. So I think this will be a good match. It feels like it is a closure match for both Seth and Roman. Like, I don't know how many more years, if that, Seth has got in the ring, because I know Roman made light of it in one of his promos, but Seth does get injured a lot, and at some point that does take effect on your body. At some point you have to think, you know, he's got a family now with Becky and their daughter, you know. So I don't know how much longer Seth is going to continue on in the ring. Roman as well, at some point he's going to be moving on to possibly Hollywood. So I'm going to go with Roman to win this match, because obviously they've been building up that Roman has never beaten Seth one-on-one. And I think that'll be the closure, that Roman's finally done the one thing that he's never achieved throughout his career, is beat Seth Rollins. And I think that's how we're going to close SummerSlam. Whether we get a surprise return or whether we get a new addition to the Bloodline that helps Roman win, I mean, that could happen. I would think Roman needs to win this match, and he needs to win it one-on-one, because that's another thing that Seth has always made a claim about, and most of the time he's been right, is that Roman can't do anything by himself. He can't win by himself. He's always needed the Bloodline, or, you know, he's always needed the Shield or something. I think it has to be Roman beats Seth. He beats him one-on-one. He beats him clean. And that's how we have our closure, that Roman and Seth can finally close the book. Whether we get a moment where Roman and Seth shake hands and, you know, they finally bury the hatchet and bring closure to their long-standing rivalry, I don't know. But So that's my predictions for night 2. So yeah, I'm going to go with Dominic winning that match, Trick Williams winning, Charlotte Flair winning, Finn Balor beating Sammy, Chad Gable beating Penta, and Roman Reigns beating Seth. So that is my predictions for SummerSlam. Hopefully it will be entertaining, and hopefully, for the love of God, it will not be like WrestleMania where we have an ad break every fucking few minutes. Just tone down the ad breaks and give us more minutes with the matches. Let the matches flow and let them have their minutes, and then you can do your ads in between or whatever. But anyway, hope it's a good event. If there is any big things, I'll be doing a review of the pay-per-view anyway. Hopefully it'll be good. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Any predictions you have for the matches, or any predictions you have for any returns. I think Big Cass is meant to be returning on the Raw after SummerSlam. There's been no mention of Enzo, whether he is not returning with Cass or whether he could be a surprise return. He might show up at SummerSlam and then that leads into Raw with Cass and Enzo, but we'll see. But anyway, take care. I'll see you again. If you enjoyed this review or this predictions, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, be very much appreciated, and I'll see you again.